Hello. It's time for another episode of Grant Draws. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Tonight on the show, we have Dan Henk. We will talk about his Kickstarter a little bit, and we will talk about mine, and then we'll do a little bit of an interview. As always, we are sponsored by the Independent Creator Directory, which you can still talk to Joe Bachman about it. I think it's in limbo right now, or it's completely being overhauled is what I should say. But if you want to talk about getting in on the Independent Creative Directory, just send Joe a message. He's on all the big social medias. And yeah, like I said, that's in development right now. But I'm going to go through the chat. We only have a few messages, so that should be relatively easy. Carl is saying good evening. Donna is saying don't forget to like and share because she's better at this than I am. And then she's saying hi to Grant and to Dan. Hi to you as well, Donna. So, okay. I'm going to share your screen. Oh, Dan Hollifield is here as well. And Margot is here. Nice to see both of you guys. Thank you for showing up. So, okay, so Down Highways in the Dark. What do you want to say? How do you sum up Down Highways in the Dark?
It's I'd say it's mainly a collection of kind of like Twilight Zone inspired, or like Tales from the Crypt inspired, probably more like Twilight Zone or like Outer Limits. And they're all they're dark in tone. I'd say they're more horror than not, but it's each one is like an individual story, and it kind of like builds up to hopefully what's a dramatic end.
Now, is this a comic book or is this prose?
So they're illustrated books, like the old ones, the old magazines like The Shadow and Doc Savage and The Spider. But I interviewed with like Marvel Comics and DC Comics and stuff, and but I wanted to go like more of like the horror route, and at the time they were not doing very well, so they want superheroes, and I was like, that's not my thing, but I love the comic book looks stuff. So I was like, I'll do like full on splash pages, and like the old like Doc Savage and The Shadow and stuff. They have cool illustrations, but they have like little ones in the corner. I was like, I'll do like a whole page.
Cool. So you drew all of this?
Oh yeah.
Looks awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, we talked a little bit before the show started about, I guess your day job is that you're a tattoo artist, right?
Yeah, I own a shop here in New York.
Cool. So now, what would you say, like, I mean, is there a pretty big difference between drawing something like this for an illustration or drawing like a tattoo on somebody's back or something like that? Or is it pretty much the same?
You know,
I mean, I guess it wouldn't be the same, but
it's not quite the same. But in a way, like art skills translate from one thing to another. You just have to like differ the way that you approach it. So, for instance, if you're like good at drawing stuff and now you have to do paintings, well, if you have the art skills to do great drawings, it might translate to you doing great paintings, but it might not if you don't if you don't take into account all the like special features that oil paints have.
right. Makes
So
sense.
yeah, it definitely, if you have skills and you can translate them, it definitely helps.
So Dan, I'm gonna play the trailer for your comic book if you don't mind.
Sure.
Growing up on isolated army bases, I lived in my own imagined fantasy world. Making trips to the local libraries, I'd check out huge stacks of books and have them all read within a week. The illustrated pulp magazines and giant comic collections were a huge influence, and I couldn't decide whether to be a writer or an artist. After reading the groundbreaking Watchmen as a teenager, I decided to go the graphic novel route. Helped along by local indie artists, I sent out a round of submissions, and both Kitchen Sink and Paradox Press expressed interest. I was thrilled, but both went bankrupt. I attended art school and then moved to New York City, all on the advice of my teacher, where I pitched the idea to DC, Marvel, and Image Comics. Little did I know the industry was on the verge of collapse, and publishers only wanted me to draw their best-selling characters. That was not what I envisioned at all. As I debated what to do, I recalled the pulps I loved so much as a child. Those early story illustrations had drama and dynamic composition to spare, even if the drawings were often a bit crude. I decided to up the ante with the type of detailed illustrations comic legends like Bernie Wrightson, Wally Wood, and John Totleben brought to the table. Going even further, I recalled the impact great book covers delivered and decided that wrapping the work in oil paintings that highlighted the most dramatic scenes would be the way to go.
So cool. So from looking at the Kickstarter, I do see. Let's see. Let's bring. Oh, whoops. How do I get out of it? Okay. Well. Anyways, we pretty much saw everything from the Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, that's that's a good summary, and as you can see, it's like me with like a natural voice, not with the current like frog voice where I don't know if I have like a throat cold or a head cold or whatever, but it sounds kind of weird right now.
Oh, so that was your voice?
So I had somebody narrate it. It's my text. So you probably hear like a little bit of me and a little bit of him, but okay. I don't sound like right now. My throat is like fucked up, so I apologize.
Well, like I said, I'm sure it's fine. If you don't mind, I am gonna talk about my Kickstarter just for a second. Sure. Oh, you know what? I need to, before I forget, I am going to put the comment. I am going to put the link to your Kickstarter. So if anybody in the chat wants to check it out. Now you are funded, but what I always say is for me, getting funded is just what you need to get to break even. I don't know if you do it the same way.
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same. Like I remember, so I ran a couple and they were not successful at all. And I remember talking to Teresa Grant, who does it a lot more than me, and she obviously like is successful with a comic book career. So I was like, what should I do? So she said, shoot low and hopefully you'll go big, but it'll be like just enough to cover the bills.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're friends with Carissa Grant too. She's been on the show a couple times. So that's cool that you got advice from her. I mean, she's done 1 million Kickstarters. So obviously, if there's anybody who knows what they're talking about, it's her. Okay, if you don't mind, I am going to talk about my Kickstarter real quick. I also have a horror anthology called Memoirs of the Morbid, and we're getting really close to getting funded. We have about a week, and we need a little over $150. I'm pretty sure we can do that. But the idea behind Memoirs of the Morbid is it's EC style, which, I mean, you mentioned a couple of EC artists.
Oh
So
yeah, Wally Wood, Ed Davis, they're all awesome.
yeah. So this is what I call EC style. It's black and white, um, and it's narrated by a horror host called the Ghoul Master, who's kind of a parody of the Crypt Keeper. And we have four different individual stories and a bonus section that I don't know. It's starting to come together. I'm really happy with it. It's not going to be done by the end of the Kickstarter, but it'll be done soon after. We have four different covers. And if you don't mind, I am going to play the trailer. It's a real quick trailer, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Greetings, ghouls and boils. I'm the Ghoul Master, a loving homage to horror anthology narrators of yesteryear. Wait, I'm an homage? Why didn't anybody tell me? You'll hear from my agent about this. But first, let's get to the heart of the matter. I'm here to tell you about the new horror anthology, Memoirs of the Morbid, on Kickstarter in time for Halloween. Memoirs of the Morbid is a black and white homage to classic horror comics from the 40s and 50s, containing 5 self-contained stories by some of the best indie comic creators out there. There's that word again. I better not find out homage is an insult. Anyways, Memoirs of the Morbid is completely done and ready to go to the printer. So don't make a grave mistake by missing it.
Yeah, so that's the trailer for my comic book. As you can probably tell, it's not only that's what I wanted to do. It's not only got a lot. It's not only horror, but there's also a lot of comedy in the comic book, and I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Well, a lot of horror has that, especially like in the old days.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, you know what I'm talking about when I say like EC style.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah. So I did want to ask you about this anthology. So you're writing and drawing all of the stories?
Am I writing and drawing it? Yeah, I am.
You're writing and drawing all of the stories as well. It's not like a traditional anthology where like one person writes one story, somebody else writes a different story.
Well, I do anthologies, and those are by various different people. This is a collection of my short stories. So I tell people it's a short story collection, not an anthology.
So now, which do you like better? Do you like writing the stories or do you like drawing them?
One kind of goes with the other. It's like I kind of I'm a visual person, so I envision the whole thing, and then I'll detail the script, and then because I am an artist, I tend to like everything. It's almost like a movie playing in my head, and I like write it down as text. But because I kind of see behind the scenes everything that's happening. When I put it into an illustration, I'm like, I know how this is going to go.
Cool.
And, I may throw in a couple things where I'm like, this makes a better picture, but I more or less know where I'm going.
So now, do you ever have trouble like deciding what part of the story to draw? Like, do you want to keep some things like up to the viewer's imagination? Or is it always like kind of straightforward?
It usually is pretty straightforward. It's like the thing that I have to pull myself back on is often I was like, I'm going to illustrate like 5 scenes. And then I'll go, if I only have time to do one, what's the one that trumps the other 5 or the other 4?
Oh, okay. Okay. So, in situations where you're not quite sure what you want to do, how do you make up your mind?
I pretty much decide what's going to make the best picture. So if they're like three scenes and they're all, I think, awesome scenes, but I'm like, this one will make a better drawing, like a more eye grabbing drawing. That's what we go with.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, so did you want to talk at all about the individual stories? Like, well, first of all, how many stories are in this book?
Well, originally it was eight, and then I added two more. So the new edition that comes out is like 10.
Oh, okay. So this is a pretty big book, I'm guessing.
It's like 300 and, I don't know, like 350 pages, something like that.
Okay. So, I mean, do you have a favorite story, or is there one story that you think the audience is going to stand out in the
Well,
book?
I did one called "The Horror of the Horror," and it's very like Lovecraft. I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, and it takes place at the famous Loch Ness, and I envision the Loch Ness monster as actually being like this alien creature. Then, of course, I have to throw in some cultists and other stuff, but that's probably like that might be my favorite. It is hard to pick. It's like picking your favorite kid.
Right. So now, was that inspired? Um, I don't know. What you tell me? What was it inspired by a certain writer or a certain horror movie?
Um, I would say I try not to like if I think it's like very close to another writer, I try to go in the opposite direction because I don't want to be the guy who just bit off another writer. So like it's more like I might take some tips from them, like Stephen King. Like I don't like his endings, but his characters are very believable. So I'm like he does a good job with the characters, and like H.P. Lovecraft, great job of world building. Um, the extreme switches would be like someone like Clive Barker. So like the all that stuff that they do great. So I'm like maybe I'll like grab what they do, what I really like, and throw all that into my stories. But like I said, I try not to be exactly like one person.
Yeah, when you first started explaining this story, the first thought that I thought was, that does kind of sound like Lovecraft. Uh, that's why I was wondering if he was like an influence on you, or if you've sat down and read his stuff, or if you've watched the movies that were based on his stuff.
I've read all of his stuff. I've probably seen almost all the movies, and I am a big fan. I remember the first time I read him, I read a couple collections, um, and it blew my mind. It's like he was the first guy that I read that like it didn't feel like you just like throwing us a sword. It felt like a whole world.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty out there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty out there, but it feels like I mean a lot of the stuff I think is like very open to like your own interpretation of how it like talks to you.
Now, do you have a favorite of like his movie adaptations?
I don't know if there's a movie adaptation that I would say is like my absolute favorite. Um, and the best movies took elements of his work and made their own story based off of it, rather than like it being a direct copy of one of the stories. I
Right.
don't think like Reanimator was not a bad job. From Beyond wasn't a bad job.
I was gonna
Um,
bring up From Beyond.
yeah, even the Nicolas Cage, The Color Out of Space was not a bad job.
Oh, I didn't see
Although
that one. What was it called?
The Color Out of Space,
Oh, and it stars Nicolas Cage.
yeah, and I think Nick is very hit or miss. I think he's more hit in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, his stuff is he's definitely very over the top. Um,
Yeah, well,
with his
it
acting
depends. If it's
style.
like Raising Arizona, he's great. If it's like the remake of The Wicker Man, he's fucking terrible. It's like, oh, the bees, the bees. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. If I had to pick a favorite of the um, the um, the Lovecraft movies, I would say From Beyond. Except that I know that it's not true to the book like at all. Um,
Yeah.
I know, like pretty much you can barely even say that they're the same story, right?
But it's been a long time since I read the source material. I've actually seen the movie more recently. But I remember when I saw the movie, I was like, this is not the story.
Yeah. I mean, I love that movie, but I mean, I can see how if you went to it thinking that it was going to be um, like true to the book, I can see how you would get mad.
I've done that a number of times, like American Psycho. I was like, the book is so good. The movie did not capture it. And later on, you're like, well, the movie was pretty good. Just I like the book better.
Exactly. Yeah, as long as you're not expecting the movie to be exactly like the book, a lot of times it'll turn out pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So
I think
okay,
it's
so
rare was the same.
yeah. So other than Lovecraft, and I think you mentioned Stephen King, do you have any other influences you wanna mention?
Well, I wouldn't even say Stephen King is a big influence because it's like I like some elements and stuff, but overall, I'm not a huge fan. But Lovecraft, I love his stuff. Graham Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend, Cervico, and Hell House.
Right.
I'm a big fan of his. Love his stuff. Um, there are a few others like Clive Barker is awesome, and I know he's like in disgrace now, but I love Neil Gaiman stuff.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, um, I don't know. The books might be still good, but yeah, he's maybe not a great guy, right?
Right.
At least that's
Although I kind of try to separate the artist from the art.
so.
So I mean, go
Do you
ahead.
think you'll be able to read books by him, or do you think do you think you'll be able to separate the art from the artist, or do you think it's too hard?
So all of his books that have already come out, I read before any of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
So like I've been following his stuff for a long time. So all that stuff, like I separate that. But if I read a brand new book of his, it would be a little bit harder for me to like separate that. But it's like it's a body of work that came out before all the other stuff came out. So that experience before I like knew these like inside tips on them. I know it's kind of like but it's kind of like for instance like when you hear like early Danzig or you hear the Misfits and you're like if you hear that first and you're like oh this is fucking awesome and then like later on you're like well sometimes Danzig can kind of be a douche. You're like well you know what I heard it before I knew that so it still is the same to me. Like I separated the two.
Yeah, that's funny because kind of the same thing happened to me where like when I was in college, a friend of mine burned a CD with the Misfits songs on, and she just burnt like all the different songs from different eras. So it never like really registered to me like, oh, this is like Danzig era, and then this is like I don't know, I can't even remember their other lead singers, but so I kind of liked all of their music.
Michael Graves was one of them. And
Right.
then there's somebody, I think Jury Only was like the singer for a while.
He was the one who had the really deep voice.
I don't know. I saw Michael Graves live, and I was like, "This is not the Misfits," and
Yeah.
that was it.
Well, I think Michael Graves, like, I think he's said and done some shitty stuff since then too.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, heard he's
like he's
like very like almost neo-Nazi or something.
right. Um, but yeah, I liked some of the songs that he wrote, but yeah, if he's a neo-Nazi, I don't really want to associate with that. Um,
That's also kind of like going over the top. So there's being a bad person and then being a Nazi. It's like many more levels.
right. That's more than just being a bad person. Right.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, like you said, it can sometimes be kind of hard to separate the art from the artist, right?
Well, especially if they do later work and now you know kind of the backstory that kind of colors the way that you take anything in. Like I love like early Guns N' Roses, but I've heard endless stories about Axel. So now anything Axel does, no matter how good it is a little bit colored in my eyes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's funny. I mean, it's funny like how people who have done worse things or people who have done less bad things than he has have been canceled, but he still hasn't really been canceled yet, right?
It
And
might
I don't
also
know.
go with the fact he was so talented. It doesn't mean that he wasn't a bad guy. That just means he also had some abilities. And there's a long history to that stuff where people have they did so much good that it took a long time for people to even call them out.
Yeah. Yeah. So my day job is that I'm a stagehand, and I did work at Guns N' Roses concert. Um, I don't know. They seem nice to me. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a side to them that can be an asshole. I don't know.
Was it also recent or quite a while ago?
No, this was recent.
Yeah.
This was their
Everyone I
reunion.
think mellows with age.
Yeah, I think you're right. Um, yeah. So we mentioned some of your writing influences. Do you want to mention some of your artistic influences? Like, who are the guys that you really like?
My absolute favorite is John Taubman. So a lot of people don't really know who he is, but if you saw the Swamp Things with Alan Moore writing it, it was a art team of Steve Bissett and John Taubman. And Steve Bissett, like I interviewed him for my podcast, so like even in Mrs. Troop, so like a sled on him was like he brought like the energy, the dynamism, but the actual like technical artistry that was John.
Wow. So you like John better than you like Steven Bisett?
Yeah, yeah. Well, even like so, Steve said like if you look at like especially the early Swamp Thing stuff, it's kind of like the pages are very like cut up and all. Like I like the emotion and the action and all that stuff, but like he even told me he's like, when I look at a comic page, I just wanted to destroy it. So he would do stuff that was like out of the bounds, and then John would come in and had all the technical wizardry to bring it like into focus. I was like, did it ever? Because sometimes John would take a drawing, redraw the whole thing, and then ink it. So I was like, Steve, did that ever bother you? He's like, no, John just make it better.
Oh wow. Hmm. I'm surprised he said that, but I mean, I guess that's a little bit of humility, I guess, right?
Right. Well, they also went to art school together. They're like friends. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think they went to the Kubert school, right?
Yeah. Which I wanted to go to. And then my dad came in the house and moved.
Oh, I see.
He was also like, art is not a career, and
Well, it sounds like you're making it a career. I mean, so you do. I mean, do you ever get like you're working all day at the tattoo shop, and then you have to come home and like work on your comic book? Do you ever get like tired of drawing, or your arm gets sore, or anything
no,
like
not
that?
really. And I used to like it was like I guess a harder transition when I go from like being a dishwasher to going home and like drawing stuff. But it's like in a way that was kind of like I even looked forward to it more because it's like I can actually do something besides washing dishes. And now I'll draw and then I'll tattoo something I drew, but it feels a lot different when I sit down and I draw something for like an illustration, a comic book, a magazine, whatever. Or when I work on a painting, like that stuff, I just kind of get lost in. So once I start drawing or start painting, like I don't even know how much time goes by, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, what time is it?
That's good, right? That means you're enjoying doing
Yeah.
it, right?
Oh, definitely. That's like I couldn't see like doing like a I guess 9 to 5 working in a cubicle job or even like working a cash register. It's like I gotta do art, whether it's like tattooing, whether it's painting, whether it's drawing or writing. And I think anything you do well is art.
Right. So now, when you're working in the tattoo shop, are you mostly coming up with original art, or do you have like like the stock images that people can
Yeah,
pick
that's
from?
called Flash. But yeah, I haven't done Flash in a long. I mean, I've been tattooing for 25 years. So probably like the first 5 years, I did a lot of Flash, but I've never done it since then.
Oh,
Now I do
really?
like, yeah, I do full sleeves, I do full back pieces. At one point, I had like a 9 month wait, so it's like it was only like cool stuff I got to draw myself.
Right. Cool. So do people ever come to you with like, this is the art that I want on my back,
Yeah.
or whatever, or how would you feel about that?
Well, they do, and it depends. So if it's like another person's tattoo, I won't do it. I'm like, that's you're copying someone else's work. I'm not going to do that. If somebody drew something up and the client wants it translated to a tattoo, I'm like, I'll do that. This is what we have to do though to make it work better as a tattoo. And then if they're like really obstinate, like I want it this size and this placement, whatever, I'm just like, not for me. I can't do it. It's not gonna look good. If it's not gonna look good, I'm not putting my name on it.
Okay. Um, so sometimes you have to turn down work that people
Oh
want.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that, but it's
And
interesting.
sometimes people even pitch stuff to me. They'll be like, all right, what does he do? He does a lot of horror. Okay, so they're like, I want this kind of like looking like the girl from The Exorcist. I'm like, you don't have to like try and sell me a portrait by saying it's like the girl from The Exorcist.
So sometimes people like try to sell you like
Oh yeah.
huh, weird. I guess I wouldn't have guessed that either.
Well, it's kind of like you have different people who do different things with tattooing, and I remember back when I started, it was like a big argument. Like they thought people like me were like snotty nosed little artists, and like tattooing is a noble tradition. You have to be like this, and we're like, yeah, but I want to do art, and they say, oh, that don't look like a tattoo. So they had a very strict formula, but most of that has fallen to the wayside. And like, especially after like all the shows like Ink Master and stuff, people are like, okay, you can be an artist and make a good living doing this. It's not just for like bikers and like drug addicts and prisoners anymore.
Right.
You know, I think that changed the industry. Like it used to be like every single shop had what's called flash, which are those images on the wall that you pick off.
Yeah.
Very few have them, especially in big cities. Like most shops don't have them.
Oh, really? So that's starting to become like kind of passe.
Yeah, yeah. And at most, what happens is like people find something on. They do this all the time, like on Pinterest or something or Flickr. And they'll be like, "Hey, I like this," you know. And often it'll be like a tattoo on someone else. I'm like, we can do something like that, but we're not going to copy that.
Right. That makes sense. So I was thinking maybe the interview should wind to a close. Did you have like anything like do you have like anything coming up after this book or do you have plans for what you're going to do after this?
Well, I am definitely going to keep writing. um, right now, I have I have one book, and then I put out a collection of short stories, but they're all kind of the same continuity. And then I put out a third book, and the third book was like more of a direct sequel to the first book, but with some of the characters from the second book in it. And then I wanted to put out a fourth one, which is kind of like a direct sequel to that third book. But I kind of describe all myself as like Mad Max or Road Warriors. Like you don't need one to understand the other.
Right. That makes sense. So okay, so they're not going to be like to be continued or anything like that. They're going to be independent.
No. And it always kind of bugs me when people do that. It's like you have to keep this in mind. It's like, yeah, but to be continued, and then you gotta wait a fucking year, and then you're like, I forgot who did what. I have to go back and reread this or rewatch this. So I don't want you to deal with that. I don't think it's necessary.
Cool. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do with my stories as well. Just have everything be, self-contained.
Right.
But we have the link to your Kickstarter in the chat. So if you guys want to check that out, do you want to give like where people can find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm actually on everything, but it's all under Dan Henk, ZNHENK. But and I actually have two for a lot of stuff, like for Instagram and for Facebook. I have Dan Henk, and then I have Dan Henk Tattooer.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Anything else you want to say before we end the show? Like, I mean, obviously, anybody who's watching, I hope you guys go and check out the Kickstarter.
No, just checking my shit, buy it. Hopefully you'll like it.
You heard it here first, guys. Check out his shit. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Dan. Thank you, everybody who watched. We will be back next week.
Well,
thanks,
you,
everybody.
and,
Bye.
Thanks for me, and sorry about my voice. It's all fucked up right now.
No, like I said, don't worry about it, man. We all get colds. All right. Thanks, man. Good night.
All right.